The Teachings of Zoilo.
Okay, I'm going to talk to you about shadow people and the Djinn. I believe shadow people and the Djinn are one and the same thing. Solomon used the Djinn to actually build his temple, and then after he had finished with them, he cast them into brass objects or containers and threw them into a saltwater lake. Now that's quite an important thing to think about here. Firstly, brass is a good medium in holding or encasing the Djinn, and salt or salt water is a very good barrier in actually keeping them from you or from ever escaping. It's said that the Djinn or shadow people cannot cross the sea because of salt in the actual sea. So with that, it's probably best to always use salt as a circle or barrier when you're actually performing a ritual in summoning the Djinn. I'm going to tell you how to summon the Djinn, but first I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I know and the ones that I've seen and encountered, so should you see or encounter them, you're not taken aback or shocked as much as you normally would be. Also, I want to tell you about the ramifications and dangers and concerns, so you know exactly what you're getting yourself in for should you wish to continue watching this video. Okay, there are 4 types that I've encountered of shadow person or Djinn. The first is a small entity with a large bulbous head, stands about 3 to 4 foot, and for this reason I call this one the Grey. I believe that there are quite a lot of sightings of perhaps aliens or abductions could be misinterpretations of this small shadow being. Tends to sit upon your chest, looks at you inquisitively, tilting its head from side to side, making small clicking noises within your ears. You may hear what almost sounds like toads or crickets in sound. You won't be able to move, you'll be completely paralysed, you'll be short of breath. In some mythological or cultural beliefs, this entity is seen to have been sucking out the soul from the actual person while they sleep. In some cultures, I believe that they say that cats do this as well. However, this entity could be, I suppose, mistaken for that. However, I'm not too sure how, with its head being quite circular. Now, this energy doesn't come across as being negative or positive per se. However, the whole feeling of being crushed, if you like, and being unable to move, I'd say isn't exactly a positive one, or one that I'd like to wish for or encourage anybody else to have. The next is a large entity, I'd say about 6 to 7 foot in height, quite lanky, thin, graceful yet violent. It will circle the room in bursts, almost like it's dancing, fleeting in between the shadows, appearing, disappearing, to the point where it will just suddenly appear right in your face, to the point where you can't see anything outside your peripheral range, so all you see is black, until it then pulls itself back from you, and you can make out exactly what it is. It's a freestanding black mass that is that of, I would say, a person. However, I'm not too sure that I would attribute any of these beings to being human or people per se. And it's one of these entities that had a pebble that it force-fed me to swallow that had the symbol of the lock upon it. And this symbol of the lock is, I believe, the symbol to help us understand and unlock our own chakra points and to open the gateway between our world and their world, to actually pull them into ourselves or summon them or bring on these entry traits to help us or enrich us in some way, or to even form a union, so you're sharing life experience with higher beings. When I say higher beings, these lower energies, these Djinn, are just mere messengers, if you like. A lot of these beings are parasitic, I believe, and they don't want you to be having astral connection to anything higher than them. They don't mind you contacting them, but they don't want you getting any further than that, unless you find a helpful one, which is quite difficult. The next entity that I come across, I call the Watcher. However, on the internet he is dubbed or coined as the Hat Man. He looks very much like an undertaker, has a hat that runs from shoulder to shoulder and a long coat. I don't ever recall seeing past the 3/4 mark of his coat towards the floor. I don't remember seeing any feet. This entity called my name in a beckoning sort of way, as if it wished me to follow. It was a very horrible experience, like looking over a precipice into oblivion. It was like I was going to die. My heart was pounding 9 to the dozen, and I really wouldn't recommend trying to call upon this spirit for any real reason. Even if you wanted to call upon it for reasons to, I don't know, place in somebody else's home or get revenge on somebody in some way just to scare the bejeepers out of them, I wouldn't recommend it. This entity I felt was the harbinger of death itself. Anyway, the fourth and final one that I'd like to cover is quite a spindly sort of creature, and I saw this one outside of my house, which is strange because all the others I've seen inside my bedroom. However, this one was after I'd done a few rituals, and I just went out to my garden. It was quite late at night, and it was standing in the corner of my garden. It had multiple limbs that were quite ripply, almost like a spider or a octopus in a sort of way. In fact, the way that it disappeared, as soon as I started making sense of what I was looking at, it pretty much vanished. It was like watching the National Geographic when you see an octopus disappearing into a small hole. It sort of just sucks itself in. The last thing you see is its tendrils. Well, that's exactly how this creature disappeared, and I have no idea what it was, and I'm still not sure whether that one was just, I don't know, maybe lack of sleep or what. I'm trying to explain that one away. However, it's something I saw and experienced, so it's going on the video, just in case you come across it. Something else I saw on the very first visitation, I was visited by a grey and also a dancer at the same time. However, they both appeared from the same origin point, which was a dark shadow that was behind what appeared to be a fairy tale witch. Now, I know this sounds crazy, but she had green skin, just like they do in the fairy tales. She stood about 3 to 4 foot in height. She didn't make eye contact with me. She was just looking down at what appeared to be some sort of book in her hand, and these creatures appeared from behind her. And that was the first time I saw them or come across them. And I didn't use a ritual to summon them the very first time I saw them, and didn't know what they were, so it was quite a scary experience for a first experience. And I've never seen her again in any of the experiences or any of the summonings or rituals I've done after. Right, now I would suggest anybody who is 18 or not sound of mind or has no occult understanding to switch this video off now and not proceed any further, because I'm going to go into how you actually go about summoning the Djinn or shadow people. You're going to need an object to actually entrap or encase these beings to, or bind them to. You do not want to be binding them to yourself. So I'd suggest finding something that's either silver, gold or brass. Something that you don't really have much of a connection to or a wish to keep, because there's a good chance you may have to destroy or bury this object, which I'll go into in later detail soon. You're going to need a bowl of water, and you're going to need a rock, i.e. something, I like using limestone, something that isn't going to dirty the water too much, something you've cleaned, and then that stands outside of the water as well, so you have an area that is free from the water, so exposed, and preferably flat as well. You're going to need a 4-length mirror, or quite a large, elongated, long mirror, and 4 candles that you can put in each corner of your room, or as close to as the corners of the room, or at least in a square around where you're going to have the mirror. I would suggest having the mirror as close to the centre of the room as possible. And the lock symbol I draw upon a mat, or the reverse of a mat that you don't really care too much of or for, and place that in front of the mirror, so you can see the lock symbol reversed in the actual mirror's reflection. In the centre of the lock symbol, place the bowl of water, and in between the bowl of water and the mirror you need a 5th candle, which you're going to stand in between the bowl of water and the mirror. Then you're going to be sitting in front of the bowl of water, so it's yourself, the bowl of water, then the candle, then the mirror. Now, upon the actual the exposed area of the rock, draw a symbol to yourself that you feel brings a positive influence. There's a lot of symbols and glyphs that you can use, which can be found in my book, which is called The Teachings of Zoilo. I would suggest using one of those that you feel drawn to, or the sort of trait that you want this Djinn to have. Now, place the object on top of the symbol that you've drawn on the actual rock itself, and get yourself in a meditative and relaxed state. The candles of the room should have already been lit. You shouldn't have any free-flowing air into the room, and have the door closed. The reason for that is you're building the air in the room from the candles that you've lit prior to actually conducting the ritual. So the air is primed. You've brought in water, so you have a water element. You have the rock for the earth element, and of course you have the flames of the candles for the flame, and you have yourself there. Now, once you're actually in the meditative state and you're in front of the bowl of water and also the rock, I would suggest taking out something like a lipstick or a crayon and drawing on the face of the mirror the same symbol that you've got. Once you have everything all together, start the meditation or breathing, and lower yourself up and down as you would during the lock ritual, opening the lock ritual. If you're unsure of what the unlocking the lock ritual is, again, it's in the Teachings of Zoilo, the book that I have on the Lulu website. However, I will be releasing a video on how to conduct the opening of the lock. In fact, I'll put some images up right now on the basics of it, and you'll be doing the opening of the lock ritual at the morning and night, pretty much every day and night of the month leading up to this ritual. This ritual should only be done on your synodic moon phase period. Now, the moon phase period is basically looking at your birth moon, the time that you was born, what phase the moon was in. So I was born on the 17th of February 1979, which is the waning gibbous. And it's during that window that I'll be doing this ritual, or at least a 5-day period, with the waning gibbous being the central point day, anywhere in that sort of window of 5 days. For women it's a lot easier. You can just use your menstrual cycle. That's probably the best for yourselves, and that can change slightly during the moon phases or into the actual room itself. Now, around yourself, I would suggest having a ring of salt to stop any entities or energies entering yourself, be them negative or positive, because the idea of this ritual is to entrap or bind the entity to the actual object that you've placed on the stone. Now, if you did want to actually bind it to yourself, all you would simply do is remove the bowl of water and the object from the room itself, and you'd have yourself in the centre of the symbol. And the reason for that is you've actually got quite a lot of water content in yourself, plus you've got a lot of carbon, so you've already got the earth and the water element in yourself. So you would just be entrapping the energy directly to yourself. However, I wouldn't suggest doing that with the Djinn or lower parasitic beings like this. In the Quran, it actually teaches that the Djinn are those that whisper in your ear and get you to do things that you don't want to do. There's a simple reason for that. They feed off of different energies and different emotions. And negative energies are the ones that instill the biggest emotions inside people, or they're the easiest energies to actually conjure up in a person. Despair, foreboding, fear. These are all things that the Djinn love to feed off of, or at least those of a negative nature. Within every realm there's always going to be negative and positive. However, some angels that I would say are angels are actually quite evil, if you want my opinion, and some demons can be quite loving. And it's vice versa. There are loving angels, there's also quite evil angels, nice demons, bad demons. But I don't believe they've got the same understanding of good or evil as what we have. So, I mean, they don't have a physical body, so they don't really understand physical pain. They know that it's an emotion, it's an energy, and it's a trait they can feed from, but they don't realise just how much trouble it causes us physically. So, at least that's my theory on it. So once you've got yourself into a meditative state, and you've got everything set out, it's just a case of feeling the harmonics of your own chakra system, and you're trying to make the lower chakra meet the higher chakra to open your third eye, and yourself and your inner gate to the actual energies and entities around you. However, if you're in a protective circle of salt, and then it's just placing the focus to the actual object itself. So try to use your focus of your energy from your third eye to the actual object that you wish to bind the energy to. Now you're probably wondering, well, what is the point of binding a Djinn to an object? The Djinn are said to give you free wishes. However, you've got to be extremely careful of what you wish for and how you wish for it when using the Djinn. They don't really understand physical wealth. Physical wealth is a man-made thing. You've got to understand this. They do not understand man's wants or desires, per se. They understand feelings, emotions, and energy that brings to you. So if you wanted to wish for wealth or anything like that, really you want to be wishing just for happiness. I wouldn't wish for material happiness, because again, material things you can't take into the afterlife. They don't understand material gain. I wish for things like knowledge, I wish for happiness, I wish for enrichment of self, or understanding of self. I wish to meet or experience new people, new experiences, new foods, new tastes, desires, new passions. Not anything that is materialistic or solid or physical. They don't really understand that. It's all energy. You've got to think along the same lines as what they can grant. There's no point in asking, a fisherman for, I don't know, venison. It's just not going to happen. So that's my theory on it. Keep it simple, and you can make your free wishes. However, if you do end up bringing a negative energy to that object, there's a good chance, like I say, you're going to get visitations and sleep paralysis if you keep that object near you or on your person. I would suggest, if you are getting really negative feelings after doing this ritual, that you place that object into, say, a bucket of salt water and bury it, or just take it to your nearest coastline and toss it into the ocean. And never look back at it. What I would suggest is, don't sell these objects on eBay either. I mean, you could, however, if you are going to be profiting from this, it's something that I don't feel you should be using this knowledge for. It's not why I put it out there. So yeah, just be careful with what you're doing, and I would suggest also understanding some banishing spells, because you may have to banish your house or cleanse your house or room after use. I would suggest doing that with any ritual that I put out there, or any ritual that you might be conducting from any other system. You need to understand banishing spells and how to actually open and close the gate. Now, that's something I haven't actually told you as yet. When you actually feel your chakra points meet, and you feel that your focus is changing and you can actually bring the energy into the room, a word that I use is called Rakunda. That's Ra, as in like Ra, the sun god. Kun Da. Ra, Kun Da. There's 3 different syllables. Say it nice and clearly and loud, and that's the opening. That should help open your higher chakra points to actually bring in the entity. When you're finished and you feel that you've actually brought the energy into the room, you should feel a pressure drop within the room. The candle may flicker, or it may actually spurt up or get higher in height. It may even change colour. It may dance. You may see shadows within the actual mirror's reflection, or shadows around you inside the mirror's reflection. You may get a chill or a sensation within your forehead, around your third eye, or a pressure there, almost like it's trying to make you stop. And to actually close it, once you've actually got that feeling that you may have been successful with the ritual, use the word Nidak. That's Nidak. So it's Nidak, I believe, if you want to write it, but it's Nidak. And that should help close the actual system or the portal down that you've just created. And that's pretty much it, to be honest. I would like to wish you the best of luck with your ritual, and if it doesn't happen the first time, just persevere and just take your time. It's not something that should be rushed. Thank you for watching.
The teachings of Zorlo.